if you know people in high places, it can go a long way into allowing you to circumvent the law. It's jacked up as it is. I would love for the law to apply to everybody consistently, but I mean, that's just not the nature of what it is. If you have more resources, you have a better ability to fight your charges, make them potentially go away. If you got money to hire an entourage of attorneys or a private firm who has a abundance of resources, you could potentially be in a better position than if you go with a court assigned counsel who got 300 cases. Now, I will tell you, as somebody who used to be a public defender, if I got a criminal charge, probably two of the top three attorneys I would want are public defenders. But from a resource standpoint, the more resources you have, the more people you know in powerful positions, the more things can get taken care of and agreements can get taken care of. And we're going to show exactly how to. We looked at that on a large scale. Now we're going to bring it down. That's why I ordered these videos this way. We went president, then we're going to go state level, then we're going to break it down, and we're going to finish up and talk about an election at the Thornton Township that looks like it has a couple of terrible candidates, but we'll determine that at a later date when we get to this, at a later time when we get to that video. Let me go and pull up the next video because I want everybody just to have a little bit of background on how we got here. You all remember this, and this was the most ridiculous shit I ever seen in my life. As soon as I heard this, I was like, man, this is a bold-faced lie. Ain't no black guys in the coldest day in the world in Chicago going to harass somebody wearing MAGA hats. I just don't believe it. I knew as soon as I heard the facts, I was like, nah, that sounds like a bold-faced lie. that sounds disingenuous.
And this is our Western edition. We're going to begin tonight in Chicago, where police are looking for Jussie Smollett. Our CBS Chicago station WBBM obtained surveillance video of two brothers who say they were hired by Smollett buying items to help stage an attack. Dean Reynolds is on this story.
In a stunning twist, Jussie Smollett, the 36-year-old actor, is now charged with disorderly conduct for filing a false police report about an attack he alleged happened to him in Chicago on January 29th. The offense is a felony and could carry jail time. Smollett has refused for days to meet with police detectives despite repeated requests to explain himself. Late tonight, his attorneys released a statement saying, like any other citizen, Mr. Smollett enjoys the presumption of innocence. We intend to conduct a thorough investigation and to mount an aggressive defense.
And the reason I want y'all to see this, because I want y'all to see how he goes from accusations to conviction, accusations to no charges, to conviction being overturned. And again, I generally agree. I 100% agree. If you've been convicted by a jury, you should be sentenced and do whatever the sanction is. But when you know people in high places, sometimes things work out favorably.
Inside the Cook County Courthouse today, the investigation picked up steam as two brothers sent the case testified before a grand jury.
I can't tell you what color their eyes were. I can't tell you, and I did not see
jury.
I can't tell you.
Hold on, real quick.
Picked up steam.
I just want to show y'all
two
something.
Brothers central.
Come on now, let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. Like, if they'd have showed me the picture of these two dudes and like, yeah, they had some MAGA hats on, I'm gonna be like, nah, bruh. And the weather was like -5 degrees that day. And -5 degrees, like low key, if you live in the city, I don't know if it's like that. I actually like the wintertime because if you look at crime statistics, crime numbers go down in the wintertime because it's too goddamn cold. Nobody trying to be out at 5 a.m. But everybody knew the story was sketched. When I see the pictures of the alleged attackers, I was like, I don't know, Jussie Smollett, you might be capping. He actually gets the where did I put it? I don't have my props here today. Oh, somebody stole my hat. Well, he gets the cap hat, but let's go ahead and finish in this so we can see how this turned into
the case testified before a grand jury.
I can't tell you what color their eyes were. I can't tell you, and I did not see anything except the second person I saw running away.
Smollett has said that in the early hours of January 29th, two racist homophobes in black masks beat him and hung a rope around his neck, yelling, "This is MAGA country." The two brothers were seen on this surveillance video that night.
You know what is annoying about this too? Like this is done like what are you trying to do? Like influence start a riot, change how people perceive something? Because I know this was around election time and the MAGA movement was going on. I don't know. It's just cap. Those two dudes jack you. Yeah, that sounds suspect. A few bad ones get away with. That is better than an overly draconian legal system. I agree. Let's skip to the next story because we know what happened. This dude just capped about this story. I think everybody who heard it, maybe y'all got excited, like, oh man, that's terrible that happened. But as soon as I heard it, it just didn't make sense for me. Let's go ahead and skip to the next story so we can see how the prosecutor screwed this up.
County State.
All right. So we're going to talk about a prosecutor who actually knows Jussie's family. And there were even text communications between the prosecutor and the defendant in this case, telling him to just keep calm and be consistent. And you can actually hear during the course of many interviews that Jussie Smollett did, where he was like, I've been consistent. So I want y'all to see where this goes terribly wrong. He commits this crime. They investigate. It's all cap. It's all a lie. The prosecutor who's in charge with prosecuting this, the DA, is a friend of the families. At one point, she's on the news saying we have enough evidence to move forward. Then another point, she's like, I don't know. But I want y'all to follow along. Bullshit story. Now let's look at the relationship and the prosecutor, the original DA in this case.
District Attorney Kim Foxx and her office misled the public time and time again while handling the Jussie Smollett investigation. That, according to a report released today. Earlier this month, Smollett was found guilty of lying about being attacked, but the state's attorneys initially dropped that case, raising some serious questions and doubt from the public. Our Charlie DeMar has been going through the report, joins us live now in our Street Side studio. Charlie?
And Brad, with the Jussie Smollett trial over, the 60-page report was released, and it outlines Kim Foxx and the state's attorney's handling of this case, really outlining how they bungled this case.
Now, remember, if I'm the district attorney and I know you personally, the only way I can move forward with this is I would have to recuse myself. And the conflict that I would have, because I know you as the defendant, extends to persons within my office. So the proper way to handle it, and they're going to talk about this, but I want to give y'all the background so y'all can know and follow what's going on. The proper thing that she should have done is, I know you. I can't prosecute this case. We have to get a special prosecutor in. Normally they bring in a prosecutor from a neighboring county to come in and they do the prosecution. In this instance, she has text message exchange with him. She originally moves to proceed with the prosecution. Looks like she changes her mind. Then she says, I can't do this. I have to recuse myself. She recuses herself and she creates a new position and appoints one of her prosecutors in her office to that position to actually prosecute the matter against Jussie Smollett. Where is the problem? You have to recuse yourself. Your conflict extends to your office. You have to get a prosecutor to prosecute the case who has no tie to your office. She created a position, moved someone in her office in that position and said, go ahead and move forward with this case. So let's go ahead and finish watching how she bungled this case and is actually terrible.
From start to finish for why this case was dismissed, to the public explanations given to why it was dismissed, and even who Kim Foxx was talking to throughout the investigation. Special Prosecutor Dan Webb says Kim Foxx in the Cook County State's Attorney's Office may have violated legal ethics by abusing its discretion.
So I was appointed a special prosecutor because Judge Tooman believed that the circumstances under which the Smollett case was dismissed without a trial was not supported by the evidence.
According to the report, Foxx illegally recused herself, but instead of publicly acknowledging it, she ignored it to avoid embarrassment. But in an interview with the special prosecutor, even Fox questioned why Smollett was initially allowed to walk without pleading guilty, only paying $10,000, a fraction of what CPD says the investigation cost in overtime pay, and allowing the actor to perform community service at Rainbow Push, to which Fox told the office of the special prosecutor Operation Push might have been too easy for him, adding that with her recused, those in charge just wanted the case to go away. Quote, they wanted Mr. Smollett out of town, she said.
And in this particular case, we did this case like we'd done many others. But the failure was that we didn't communicate well.
The failure was that she didn't recuse herself and allow a prosecutor from a neighboring jurisdiction to actually prosecute the case. She didn't recuse herself. She hired someone in her office to move forward with everything. And they essentially gave him a deferred prosecution. A deferred prosecution is you're charged with a crime. I look at it and I say, okay, this is a crime. You kind of suck, but you don't have a lot of criminal exposure. This is your first charge. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to hold this case open. We're going to continue it for whenever. And if you comply with these conditions, we'll dismiss the charges. And the conditions is normally community service, stay out of trouble, and pay some fine and some court costs. And because he was able to comply, he paid the $10,000, he did everything, they ultimately dismissed the charge. So that's essentially what happened and how we got here.
But Webb called that statement a lie. The state's attorney publicly said there were 5,700 cases handled just like Smollett's. But when asked for examples, the office couldn't provide a single case handled like the actors.
Because they were friends. No other cases were handled like his because you weren't friends with those other people.
The report calls Fox's statement unacceptable for an office that must be transparent and maintain public confidence. Fox's office initially charged the actor with 16 counts and then, in an unannounced hearing, dropped the case. Webb said the decision represented a major failure of operations. And the report shows that Fox was still communicating with Jussie Smollett, Jussie's sister, even after he was a suspect. At the time, Fox publicly denied those claims.
All right. So that's where we are. Now we're going to talk about, well, why did the court overturn his conviction? So he tells the stupid ass story about some black guys being MAGA and -5-degree weather and whipping his ass, which don't make any sense. He's charged with 16 counts. The prosecutor is a friend of the family. She's having communication with the sister and text messaging him throughout this process. Initially, they're like, hey, we got enough evidence to charge this. We're going to charge it. She needs to recuse herself because of the relationship with the family. She fails to do so. She creates a new position. She puts a prosecutor in her office in that position to move forward with the case. Instead of prosecuting the case, what happens is they give him a deferred prosecution. You pay $10,000, do community service, and stay out of trouble, and we'll make this charge go away, which is a great deal. Anytime you can get a deferred prosecution, do it. People are like, man, I had people who was like, I had one client, she had a deferred prosecution to get everything dismissed. She was like, man, I'm not doing no community service. I want to go to trial. I'm like, yo, there's like 5 witnesses here. Isn't that good? Just take the deferred prosecution and make it go away. And what happened? She went to trial. The 5 witnesses all went like that and said it was her, and she was convicted. Then she was like, you think we can get that deferred prosecution? I was like, no, that's not how it works. But he gets the deferred prosecution. He does what he needs to do. The charges are dismissed. Now, because she failed to recuse herself, a court looked at it and said, hey, something's not right here. We needed a special prosecutor to look at this. So a special prosecutor comes in from a neighboring county, which District Attorney Foxx should have done. When this special prosecutor comes in, he says, you know what? We got enough to charge this guy. We charge this guy. We get a conviction. And now that we got this conviction, this dude is convicted and he has this conviction on his record. That's where everything is. And now we're going to look at why this was overturned by the court. And amazingly, I actually agree with it. But you all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Do y'all agree with why the court overturned this, or is it just me? I tend to agree with it. I think the prosecutor jacked it up. And I'll be honest, I think she jacked it up on purpose. Like, she should be brought up on ethics violations with the Bar Association.
And justice lead a new twist to a case that has already played out with multiple dramatic turns. Actor Jussie Smollett, as you might recall, was convicted in 2021 on 5 counts for staging a fake attack on himself, paying 2 men who he knew from the show Empire to assault him while they shouted racist and homophobic slurs on a Chicago street.
This dude got 2 guys who was on the TV show with him to do it, or he just knew him? That's crazy as hell. You could at least got 2 strangers to do it. This dude got 2 people he know. That's crazy as hell.
Racist and homophobic slurs on a Chicago street. Today, the Illinois Supreme Court overturned Smollett's conviction. The ruling was not on the merits of the case, but on who tried it. The state's attorney originally dropped the charges after Smollett paid a fine and performed some community service. And then a special prosecutor was appointed, and that special prosecutor landed the conviction. Here to help us understand all of this is CNN's legal analyst, Laura Coates, who, of course, also anchors Laura Coates Live, which airs at 11 p.m. only here on CNN. She gives fascinating insights and all sorts of things, especially on big cases like this one when they're grabbing headlines. Laura, so good to have you back.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you for being here. So this was a 5-0 opinion. The Illinois Supreme Court Justice Elizabeth Rockford wrote, "What would be more unjust than the resolution of any one criminal case would be holding from this court that the state was not bound to honor agreements upon which people have detrimentally relied." So
that was it right there. It would be crazy for this court not to hold agreements for which people detrimentally relied. Fox should have recused herself. She didn't. She got someone in her office to give him this sweetheart deal. He did what he was supposed to do. Some judge looks at it, said, this is wrong. A special prosecutor comes in, says, no, we got enough for a conviction, and actually gets the conviction. His attorneys challenge it, and the court says, wait. They said it wasn't on the merits of the case. So all the facts and evidence was there to prove that you're a liar, that you're a liar and the truth ain't in you, as older black folks like to say. You're a liar and the truth ain't in you. But it wasn't overturned on the merits of the case. It was overturned because the defendant, Jussie, detrimentally relied on the agreement. He was not aware that the prosecutor should have stepped away. He was not aware that the prosecutor who she got to do the case didn't have the authority to do so, because their whole office should have been conflicted out and it should have been someone else. So from his perspective, she was the district attorney. The guy who was handling it and gave him the sweetheart deal was a prosecutor. There's nothing to the defendant, to Jussie, that would give him any inclination that the people he were getting the agreement from, who he was making the arrangements, with, were not the prosecutors. So solely because he detrimentally relied that these persons were the right persons to be able to make this charge go away in exchange for him doing community service and paying $10,000, the court said he relied on it. There was no reason for him not to believe that the people who were giving him the sweetheart deal didn't have the authority to do so. And because of that, he got away with one. And I would love to see Fox lose her law license for this. Personally, that's just me.
This was more about procedure.
It was about a contract, essentially. This all comes down to whether a deal really is a deal. Remember, initially, they chose not to prosecute him. They had a Latin term, noli prosequi, which essentially means not wanting to prosecute. As part of that, $10,000 forfeit of his bond, hours of community service, and that was the only punishment. That word's important later. Based on that, he relied. He fulfilled those obligations, and then they said, you know what, never mind, we're now going to still prosecute you.
Double jeopardy.
It's double jeopardy. It's due process violation, which is what the court actually held. And they said, listen, how is the prosecutor's office to have credibility if no one can rely on what you say is the deal? And more importantly, he's already fulfilled the obligations. Imagine, if you will, you and I had a contract. I did everything on my end. And then you said, well, that's great. Never mind. They applied the same principles of the kind of contract law to this case. It's the right decision, irrespective of the underlying facts everyone points to, because it reminds you a lot of what contract law is about. A deal is a deal. the benefit of the bargain. I upheld my end.
So it's a completely different case, but it's not unlike what happened with Bill Cosby in the sense that the prosecutor agreed to something and
That's
then
a
they
good
changed
point.
their mind and decided to punish him anyway. And maybe they shouldn't have entered into that first deal. Who knows? But
Yeah.
you got to stand by your word, especially if you're the state.
It's such an appropriate analogy. The
That's a
court
good-
even
that's
looks
a
at
good
it as
point.
well. And even more so, it's the reason why you go against your word. You remember there was so much chatter. There was outrage from Donald Trump to then Mayor Rahm Emanuel and everyone in between who had a real problem with this particular deal. They thought it was a sweetheart celebrity deal. They would say no average person would actually have this. Kim Foxx, who I'll have on tonight on my show at
Kim
11.
Foxx, she was the DA.
She was the DA. We'll talk to her tonight about what she thinks about this decision as well. They were very angry that this would be the deal given. Just like the sounding of the alarms that happened with the Bill Cosby case, albeit under very different
Yeah,
circumstances.
completely different case. But
But this is the same concept. A deal is a deal. And if
That's
you're the
crazy.
prosecutors in this case, we are a
I agree
fungible
with
asset
it,
as
but it's
each
crazy that it
prosecutor.
happened.
The government is who you are. So if the government cannot be trusted to make a deal, imagine what happens with people who were supposed to be cooperators. People who say, okay, I'll take this plea. You're not going to recommend a sentence or not the maximum sentence. And then they just say, never mind, because there is public
Well, good
perception
point.
and public outrage. You cannot rely on that. And frankly, prosecutors' offices would fail in their ultimate ability to secure a lot of deals if no one believed them.
Yeah.
Hey, very well said. Again, these are two instances where people are going to appear to evade convictions that they have, and the system just sometimes fucking work like that. People know people in high places, and it just works itself out. I mean, honestly, of both of these cases, this is gonna sound wild. I know y'all probably gonna beat me up in the comments. I'm actually of all the cases of the case with Trump and how his charges may go away, his conviction may go away, versus this case, how it may go away. This case is actually worse, honestly. Like how this case is going away is actually worse than how Trump charges will potentially go away, in my personal opinion. This case, the charges went away because the prosecutor had a relationship with the defendant's family and did the wrong thing that ultimately led to a wrong result. And by the time the state tried to fix it, it was too late. At least on the issue of Trump's conviction, it wasn't because he knew the fucking judge. It was the way the court articulated the law. So now, whether it's bad law or good law, hey, it's debatable. I told you I agree with one part, don't agree with the other part. But at least one was more based in a little bit of law. One was more based in law, and the other one, I think personally, was more based in corruption. There was no real legal basis, but the prosecutor, did they really mess up? Neither. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Was it really a purpose? You think she messed up on purpose? You think she did that on accident, or it was done on purpose because she knew there would be a mechanism for him to probably overturn that conviction at some point? I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I actually think this situation is way more corrupt than the situation that we explained in the first story. Y'all let me know y'all thought, but at least the first story was based in law. It may be bad law, but at least it's based in law. This one was just based on the prosecutor not doing the right thing, and she gave her friend an easy out. And that's terrible, in my personal opinion. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments as well. Let me see. Fox is not running for re-election, as she shouldn't. She shouldn't even have a law license, in my personal opinion. Her law license should be finito. Don't believe my line, cross eyes, or two left ears. I guess they were white with MAGA. Hey, power, privilege, sometimes your hue, they can all access resources. All of that shit contributes. If that wasn't Jussie Smollett and it was DeShante Jackson ass would be in jail right now.